You can stop the video to follow along. Once you've created an account on Job Center of Wisconsin, go over to the Job Seeker tab and scroll down to the Resume tab. From here, it gives you some simple instructions on creating your resume. What we will do is we'll move down here to the Add Resume. Click on Add. Once you click on the Add Resume, it shows you the 6 steps that are required to complete your resume on Job Center of Wisconsin. You'll go through and you'll make sure all of your contact information is up to date. Proper case for your first and last name, or you can put it all in capital letters. Make sure your email address is in there, and that is all correct. Once everything is done, you'll hit continue, and we start the job profile. You want to start with your professional summary. It's really just a basic overview of the type of work you're looking for, what your skills are, just something as an eye catcher at the beginning of your resume. I've chosen to include that I'm a veteran. A lot of people will do that. Not always required, but if you're trying to find a job with an employer that is very veteran friendly, that's always a good thing to include in there. All right. If you have an extensive amount of experience, this is also a good spot to include that as well. Another eye catcher right at the top of the resume. All right. Professional growth. All right. Next thing you want to do is describe your skills in detail. A lot of times I'll suggest that people use bullets for this section, and you can list out some of the bullets that best describe what your skills are related to the position you're applying for. Keep in mind you can have up to 3 different resumes on the Job Center of Wisconsin website. So you may, if you're a transportation or warehousing person, you may have one that's strictly the transportation side, and you could also have one that was more geared towards the warehousing or material handling side. And just hit enter after entering each one of these, and we'll go back later and edit those to put them in a better format. Always be aware of how much room you have in each box. Your text limit for that one is 1,000, so probably not going to go over that. If you have any additional certifications or licenses, you can include those there as well. Next, we want to put in the job title. These are the job titles of the type of positions you're looking for. If you have worked in a position where your title is not descriptive of your skills, you may want to use something more generic to do your search. And then when you look at the category, you'll be able to select a category that best describes the type of work you're looking for. You also include your years of experience, and then you add that to the resume. I often suggest you put in more than one job category type, because if it is something broad like warehousing and transportation, you want to make sure you're covering all your bases. And again, you'll do a search here. Let's pull this down. You'll do a search. You'll select the category that best describes this experience. And put in the years of experience. Add that. And from there we will scroll down a little bit here. Got both of them in there, transportation and warehouse. Let's continue. Alright, so now we're up to the job history. Here's where you will add all of your job history. You'll go down to the Add Job History box, and this talks about all the different positions you've had. You can have up to 10 different employers in this section. The only thing you have to put in here is the employer name. No need to put in a street address. This will just show up on your resume as an employer name, the city, the state, and then go into a little more description about some of the things that you did while employed there. Alright, Wisconsin. Scroll down. Position title, and once again this is a pretty straightforward title, but you'll see when we do a search here, terminal manager doesn't really come up as one of the categories that best describes what the position was. You have transportation manager. That makes sense. You'll go through and select several boxes that best describe the skills. This is also a good time to tailor your resume to the type of job you're applying for. If you're looking for a higher level position, you want to look for the higher level duties that you performed in past jobs so that that is a good match for the resume. If you worked in a trucking company and you were a supervisor and you focused primarily on dispatching or working on the dock, then you would make sure you're selecting the items that best describe those skills. Alright, after you've selected all of those, they include them in the box below under your duties and responsibilities. They're all listed in there. And we just go down and put in your dates of employment. This is really just a WAG. If you're going back and you're looking at jobs that you've held several years ago, it's not super imperative that you get the exact date, but more or less just a ballpark. You may have to fill some of that information on an application, so if you have that documented somewhere, you might want to find those before you start to fill out an application for a place so that your dates do match up. Alright, we'll add this. And there's all the information in there with your dates. Alright, now let's add another job. Put in the next employer. Alright, city, state. Shift supervisor. Now this would be an example of one that doesn't necessarily cover the transportation side of a shift supervisor. So what I suggest here is you go up and change the position title for your search and put in transportation so that it better matches the type of work you're looking for. And as you can see, you get a lot better choices that are a better match for transportation. Alright, a couple more here. Alright, so they're all in the box. Let's go down and take a look and make sure everything populated. We'll put in the dates of employment. It doesn't matter the date that you go through this list to fill them out. They will put the jobs in reverse chronological order on the resume. Alright, let's add. Alright, everything there. We got Watkins, overnight. And let's do our current employer. So let's go ahead and add job history and put in the final one. Okay. Transportation manager, we'll do a search. We'll select the category that's best fits. Logistics manager. Select a few more here. You generally are going to have more items in the job's most current, the things that you're most recently doing. Not always the case, but if you do have a lot more for your current position, make sure you document as much of that as you can. Alright, start date. And the end date you would leave open if it's to present. Scroll on down, and we will add this one to the resume. Make sure they're all in. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right, next we'll go on, we will go ahead and continue on to education. This is an important box that people often miss. They will put in their highest level of education but forget to add the education history. So make sure that even though you can select your choices, once you select your choices, be sure to go down to the box and add education history. So let's do that now. Okay, the name of your school. Dates attendant, we often tell people to leave that out. A lot of times if you went to school a long time ago, that can be deemed as negative, so sometimes we'll leave that out to prevent people from looking at your age and having that weigh on whether or not you're hired. Put in your program of study and the degree or award from completion. Alright, let's add that one. And we'll continue to add other history. If you have high school, you can include your high school. If you've had military training, your tech school or your AIT, this is a place to put that. U.S. Army Transportation Specialist course, or whatever the name of the course was. Program of study, just something that describes the type of education you had in the military. And under degree or awards, you would generally put in certificate of completion. certificate of completion, certificate of training, anything like that. So this is another good place to put in any military training that may be pertinent to the type jobs that you're applying for. All right, and leave the year when we finished high school out. We'll hit add, and let's see here. Those both took. All right, let's continue. And okay, availability. Here's where you check the availability. This is just a general search tool that employers can use to find out how many people are willing to work first shift or second shift, if you're willing to relocate. So it's important that this all be filled in. If you're looking for part-time only, that'll be documented. If you're open Monday through Friday, if you'll work some weekends, you go ahead and note that. This is not included on the resume. This is just a tool that the employers will use when matching you to their jobs. To increase your odds, you might pick additional shifts. If you prefer first shift but you're willing to work second, you would just make sure you note second shift as well. And do you have transportation, and do you have a valid driver's license? So we'll save this. Been a little while since we've saved, but it hasn't been 30 minutes, so we should be good. Alright, everything is in there. Let's continue. Okay, now we're at the finish activate point. This is where it asks you if you're done entering all of your information. If you have all of your history in there for both your education and your jobs, you'll click yes. And you want employers to match you to their jobs. This is a very good tool in the Job Center system. If you pick yes, they can go through and do a search on the skills that you have listed in your resume. Down here we'll say, what do you want employers to see? You've got the anonymous resume that doesn't give a whole lot of information on where you were employed or how to get in touch with you. Contact information is always the best one. A lot of employers use email, so if you pick the second one down, JCW resume with contact information, that'll be great. If you have a LinkedIn, you can use the website address for a LinkedIn, but those are very difficult to search you by. So I would always encourage you to use the JCW resume with contact information. We'll go up here. We'll save that. Alright, so now let's go down to the bottom. We have everything in, and we'll hit finish. So that completes posting your resume on Job Center. Now let's go in and take a look at it. We'll return to the resumes. We'll find the resume that we just made, which will be at the top there, updated today. And let's see here. Let's print preview. We'll look at the JCW resume with contact information. We'll look at it as a Word document so that we can edit it. And then we will hit print preview. Alright, it downloaded here on the bottom. So let's open that. Open. I have an old version of Word that's having some issues. You won't get that prompt there. So let's make it a little bigger. We'll change the view. We'll zoom in and make it page width. That makes it a little easier to read here. Alright, now let's scroll through and take a look at what we've got here. This is the resume we just created in Job Center, Wisconsin. Alright, and 2, and we're up to 3 pages, so we'll clean this up a little bit to get it down to a 2-page resume, and this is a pretty simple process here. Let's see here. See, 1 and 3 pages. So let's go up here and we'll change the margins. If we make the margins narrow, that spreads it out a little bit, and that's very helpful. The next thing we'll do is we'll clean up the skills section. We'll put these in columns. Instead of them going down the page, we'll spread them out across the page, and that'll make it a little easier. So we'll put them in 3 columns. There's 3. Alright, So now it looks like we're down to 2 pages. Yep, 2 pages. So now we've cleaned up some of the empty white space that's on the 3rd page. If you need more space, you can change the date format to put the from and to dates above each other, but in the case of this one, we should be good in this format. Once we've made all of the updates that we want to make to the final version of the resume, we're going to have to find a way to save this to put it back on the Job Center site. So we'll go in and do a save as. We'll give the resume a descriptive name. This is our transportation resume, so we'll call it transportation. It's always a good idea to put the date in there, because as you start generating different resumes, as you're targeting them to the different type jobs, it's a lot easier to be able to tell what the resume is just by looking at the dates. So let's save that. Okay, now we've saved it on your computer, so now we need to get this back up to the Job Center of Wisconsin website. So let's get rid of this error from mine. So we'll go back into Job Seekers, Resume tab. Let's scroll down and find the one we're working on, which will be at the top, the most recent date updated today. And let's go down to the bottom, and we're going to do an update, view update. And now let's go over to the Finish Activate tab. Scroll down here, and right in the middle it says Upload your resume optional. So if you choose the file that we just worked on, let's see here, let's go back to Downloads, Transportation Resume. Let's get rid of these errors here. I need to fix that. And let's hit Open. Okay, Transportation Resume April 2020. We want to change what we want employers to see. Let's check the uploaded resume. Now, even though we're changing this to uploaded resume, you use the resume builder to create your profile, so all of that information is still visible to the employers when they do a search for you, since you built it in the resume builder. This just changes what it looks like when they go to look at it and download it as a Word document. I'd also suggest you upload it as a PDF, because if you have employers that do not have Microsoft Word, which is unusual, everyone is able to read a PDF because the software is so freely available. So now our resume is done, everything is uploaded, and you're visible. Let's log out. And this completes the training on the Job Center of Wisconsin website. Thank you for your attention.